Hello, everybody. Welcome to Core Talks. I'm Denise Posnack-Gaffney. It is Tuesday, August 1st, and I am coming to you live from Cape Cod. I'm on a vacation. It's awesome. I probably shouldn't be doing Core Talks because I'm on a vacation, but I've committed to you, so here I am. And today I am so excited about this topic because as I was mining the topic for what we're going to be focusing on, it was really helping me tap into my vacation. As you know, if you have watched the subject title or seen the advertising for it, today's talk is about permission and how that plays into wellness. And if we don't give ourselves permission to be whatever it is, and I'm going to go into different ways in which we sort of prohibit that concept, then we're really unable to be well. So applying this on my vacation while I'm here, I'm allowing myself, first I'm giving myself permission to go on vacation, but even though I'm here, it's hard for me to give myself permission to truly let go. And that's one of the ways we're going to focus, but we're going to go into a few here. So I just want to get started by talking about what we have set up for ourselves in terms of expectations in wellness, and how permission will help us get to the place we really want to be. So we all have our own glass ceiling when it comes to being healthy, being fit, being the weight we want to be. And when we talk about a glass ceiling, we're obviously talking about a limitation, right? It's like, this is as healthy as I can ever be. And even though we try to get healthier, we always end up coming underneath that glass ceiling. So I want to take that glass ceiling image and I want to turn it into, it's really more of a rubber ceiling, a pliable ceiling. So if you can imagine like a thick rubber, I've been imagining this red rubber pad that's right above my head. Because we are, with wellness, with everything really, but with health and wellness, we really are able to, if this is our glass ceiling, if it's a rubber ceiling, we really are able to push up into it and get to a next level. But that pushing up is really pressurized. It's a very hard task. So it's really hard for us to stay there. We can kind of take that level up a little bit, but when we're pressing into it, the effort it requires to take ourselves to that next level is just exhausting. And so we end up coming back down to that comfort level. So I want to define what this rubber ceiling is and our relationship to this rubber ceiling. So first, let's define the rubber ceiling. And I want you to be able to define it for yourself. What are these things? So in your, if you tap into your old or your sort of regular or habitual beliefs about your health, and by health and wellness, I mean your weight, your body composition, your endurance, your strength in a type of exercise, your physical talents. Do you think, you can't dance, or you could never play a sport, you're not coordinated? Your energy level. Do you think that you should feel a certain way? I'm going to get into these a little bit more. Let's see, what else plays into that? Just your overall general day-to-day health activity board. So, weight. do you have, hey, Catherine, do you have a certain weight that is your in your rubber ceiling that you have defined for yourself? I'll never be below this weight. This is the weight my mother was. This is the weight I was in high school, and it's just, if you have excess weight that you want to get rid of, is your rubber ceiling that, you know what, I'll never be able to go any lower than that. In terms of endurance and physical strength, you know what, the most I can run is 20 minutes on a treadmill at like 4.0. That's all I can do. I'm not a long runner. I could never run 2 miles. I could never run a marathon. This is where I run. Even if you'd want to learn how to run more. In terms of physical talent, an example would be, I hear a lot of people say, oh, yoga, Pilates, that's for flexible people. I'm not flexible. Therefore, I can't do yoga. I couldn't try yoga. So that works into their rubber ceiling. In terms of, let's see, your daily health activities. My day is jam-packed with work. I don't have time for exercise activities. I couldn't make time. Who has time to go to the gym in the morning? Who has time to fit a yoga class in? Who has time to run? So I want you to think about what your rubber ceiling is for yourself when it comes to health. And I want you to start looking at that and first of all realize that it's there and realize that it is hindering you. And I'm going to go into how and why over the next 2 weeks. We're not going to get to all of it today. But tap into it. Maybe take a moment to write down after this talk, or you can, things that come to mind right now, write down what you think your rubber ceiling is. And I want you to recognize it and know that it plays into your ability to have a healthy, your ideal, healthy quality of life, because it either keeps you under it, or we'll talk about, I'm going to talk about some different ways that we're dealing with this in a second. But anyways, I'll just pause there by saying that we all have our rubber ceiling. It lives in this place. It is usually there, and we're going to learn where we are with it. So there are 4 different ways that you are living with your rubber ceiling. The 4th one isn't totally, it's kind of an extra add-on idea. The first is that you have defined this rubber ceiling, and let's say it's, I'm not flexible, I'm not strong, I never exercised as a kid, my mother's overweight, my father's overweight, my aunt's overweight, everybody on that side of the family is overweight. I'm okay with that. Even though I want to be something else, I'm not going to be. This is as good as it gets. I'm a smoker, or whatever it is. Okay, so let's say that's your rubber ceiling. If you are living in comfort level with your rubber ceiling, you are living underneath that rubber ceiling. You are incapable, and by incapable that is not true at all, but you really don't like the thought of looking beyond it. It feels safer for you to be in that place. It's painful for you to think that there's something that you could have that maybe you've always wanted, but that rubber ceiling, I like this rubber image because the rubber ceiling you can't really see through. So you have chosen to stay under that. You don't see anything beyond it. Everything that other people have in terms of health and wellness, that's really not attainable for you. So you're okay with accepting that, and you're living underneath it. The second way that many of us try to deal with this rubber ceiling. We have that belief about ourselves. We believe we are this weight, or we believe we are really, this, we could really run like maybe 3 miles tops, but nothing more. But we want to break through that rubber ceiling. That is the thing. And we try to do it every year. Usually we try to do it in January after the holidays. And we think, oh, my New Year's resolution is to lose X number of pounds. My New Year's resolution is to start taking yoga every day. My New Year's resolution is to get in a spin class, and whatever your New Year's resolution is. And we are able, this is the second way that we deal with our rubber ceiling, we are able to press up into it. Here's my rubber ceiling. We're able to push up to get to that next level. But because of that belief and because of that thing we have set up for ourselves, it is so much pressure. It's so much work. It's so exhausting that we give up. And we come right back down to that comfort level. But we keep trying this pressurized way of being to deal with that thing we've done to ourselves. And we try it over and over and over again. And some of us actually live in that pressured place more than 1 month out of the year or 1 week out of the year, whatever. Eventually, we have to give up if we're living like that. And so then we come back. We come back to that place of comfort because it's easier mentally. So the third way, some of us, you can be dealing with your rubber ceiling, and you could go through all 3 of these in your life. The third way that many of us deal with this, and I am essentially living in this third way. I'd like to be in the fourth, which is what I'm going to, that's the grand, the place to be. But let's talk about the third way. So the third way that we can be dealing with this rubber ceiling is we've figured out, and the way I see it, let's say that ceiling is between your 4 walls and you've got your rubber ceiling, but there's a little crack in the side, there's a little room, and we figured out how to surpass that rubber ceiling. Or we worked so hard that we've actually busted through it, okay? But it's not the kind of thing that just goes away. So it seals back up and it's underneath us, and we've gotten around it, and here we are living in a more ideally well way. We are a weight that makes us feel healthy in our clothes. We feel good about ourselves. We put on our bathing suits and we're like, yes, I'm happy. We are, have a really good relationship with our diets. We understand that, oh yeah, okay, this works for me. I like to exercise 3 times a week. It's not so hard. I'm going to the gym. And we have this really nice place that we have figured out how to be in. We figured out the rules of going beyond the rubber ceiling and staying beyond the rubber ceiling in a way that is, it's fairly, it's doable. It's not like we're not dropping back down. We're not pushing up against it. We've gone beyond it. However, we are always afraid that we're going to fall back down underneath it. We live in anxiety that we're going to return back to that bad place. And usually if you're like a type A perfectionist, or you've had issues in the past with not being healthy, and then you've really figured it out, this is what I do and this keeps me healthy, and you go there and you sustain it and you're able to sustain it, that is awesome. But if you continue to have that rubber ceiling, and the rubber ceiling is a belief, it is a myth, then you will you'll live in anxiety about falling back into the old ways. Or if you're like me, you will think, oh, eventually I'll just be back there. This is actually just temporary. Oh, I'm lucky right now. I'm in great shape. I feel like I want to feel. I've got it all together. But you know what? Eventually, I'm just going to drop right back down into that place. Because that's where I belong. Because I truly do have a ceiling and I cannot break through it. No matter how I try. Even if I sneak around it and get above it, I'll end up back down there. So those are the 3 ways that most of us are living with this created rubber ceiling about wellness and health. Now, there is a 4th way to live with this rubber ceiling, and that is to actually change your belief and remove it. And that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. It's taking years of belief system that you have to undo, but it is possible, and I'll give you some ideas on how to do that. But I want to, going back to our key to dealing with this rubber ceiling and this belief. One of the keys, we talked about valuing enough. I am doing enough. That is absolutely part of this key to dealing with this. But the other concept that I want to play with, and I want you to play with, I want you to add in, is this concept, this idea that it's not a concept, it's a thing that you have to practice. And that is giving yourself permission to make changes in order to address that rubber ceiling. So, next Tuesday, I'm going to talk about the people who are pushing up, pushing up, and the people who are living above it, the me's who are doing these things to stay healthy and, oh, it's working, it's great, but are afraid of breaking the rules and coming out of it. I'll talk about that on Tuesday, 8/8. Today, I am going to talk about the person who is living underneath their ceiling and who doesn't believe that they can be any healthier than they are. And I'm going to talk to you about giving yourself permission for that to change. So, the way, if you are in this place and you don't want to be in this place, if you are in this place of stuckness when it comes to the way you view your body or the way your body feels, stuckness when it comes to how much you can do in an exercise class, stuckness when it comes to your fears about taking a dance class or a yoga class or learning hula hoop or, going to a trip, whatever it is. If you want to quit smoking, if you want to quit sugar, if you want to stop drinking, whatever it is that is keeping you stuck, permission for you. It's so fascinating, and you're not going to really realize that this is in your way, but you have to give yourself permission to be the person, the well, healthy, embodied, connected, aligned, ideal person you want to be. You have to start there. And until you can say, hey, Denise, you can be that. you can have that, Denise. Insert your name. You can run a marathon if you want. You can learn how to Lindy hop and be thrown around up in the air. You can learn how to do a front tuck off the diving board. You can absolutely crave healthy, awesome foods and be living with pleasure every day eating healthy, natural foods. You can absolutely step into a yoga class, even though when you try to stand on one leg, you fall over. You can. You can be that person you see and you want to be. You have to start by giving yourself permission to be there. So most of us don't even realize that we're not. Now, for me, body stuff, this plays in. These things are always we're gonna have all these different little ceilings that we have for ourselves. So right now, for me to apply this, hi Nance, for me to apply this I look in the area of a soul cycle, my spin class, where I'm in the class and I'm really afraid of pushing myself too hard because, I'm going to hurt myself, because that's my little rubber ceiling. Oh, I hurt myself and I'm an injured person and I have to do all of these things so that I don't I stay out of injury. But if I give myself permission to spin a little faster, and it's coming from that place of, yes, you can be super strong. Of course you can. Then I can actually try it, and I can actually potentially attain it. But as long as I haven't given myself permission to become the pain-free, awesome, fast spinner that, I want to be, then I will never, ever, ever, ever be able to get there. So I want to give an example of a former client of mine. Her family, they had a certain body type. And I'm not going to go into detail about what that body type was, because I don't want her, if she came on here, to know that I was referencing her. But so we're just going to say, okay, all of her aunts had a slouch back. Okay. We're just going to say that on her mother's side, everybody was kyphotic. Okay. So this was the story of the family. We're hunched over. Again, this is not the actual thing, but we're hunched over and we're going to call her the Smith. The Smiths are just that way. You're going to be that way. And this woman gave herself permission to exit that belief system about her family's body type. And it was hard for her to do because she was told that all of her life. And she came to me and we worked on these things. And like I said, it was not the rounded back, but in Pilates, it's a perfect example. So she worked on this thing. She changed it. It is no longer her belief about herself. And she became this body that she wanted to be. And she became this body so much so that her husband saw her. She'd been working on this quite a bit. And he saw her walking through the park from a distance, and he looked at me and was like, oh, is that, so-and-so, I'll call her Nancy. Nancy's not here. It was Nancy. Is that Nancy? Oh, I think that's how Nancy wants to look. I know that's her goal. And as he got closer, it was her. And she had transformed herself because, again, she gave herself permission to become the healthy, well person she had idealized for herself. So I want you to think about where you can do that. If you are living in that place regularly, you're in a place where you don't want to be, but again, going back to this rubber ceiling where you haven't even looked beyond it because it's so painful to look beyond it, I want you to start by just asking yourself if you can give yourself permission to imagine yourself. And not even imagine yourself. Well, A, imagine yourself, but B, allow yourself to change. One little thing. One little thing. And then keep working that. Keep working that idea. Keep working the idea that permission is going to help you get to that next thing that you want. You have to play with it. You have to allow it. And it is not easy because it's scary. Because what if you do it? What if you try? And what if you fail? Oh my God, that's horrible. That's so painful. You can't be afraid to fail, and you have to let yourself out. So I want you to just, I'm going to leave you with this last little thought or this little analogy too. Let's just think that you have a little boy or little girl, you're a mother, or you were a kid, think of yourself as a kid, and you want to go ride your bike outside by yourself. And your mom and dad say, no, you can't do it. No, that's not what you do. You're going to fall. No, you know, it's scary. No, you're going to be abducted. No, you're going to be hit by a car. No, 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 no. Whatever those fears are, when you're given that kid, whoever, whether it's you or it's your kid or however you want to see it, until the parent, which could be you giving your child, or could be your parents, until you are given permission to go out and ride that bike, no matter what happens, failure, fears, all of that stuff, you're not going to do it, right? So, and the only way to accomplish it and the only way to get to that next level is by giving yourself that permission. So, pink slips. Wasn't the pink slip you got to get out of class or something like that? Or something, or the little whatever you got to get out of the room, to bathroom pass or whatever, to leave the situation, to change, to experience your life more. Give yourself that this week. So take some time today, later on, whenever, write down what your rubber ceiling is. Where are you? What are you living under? What have you decided for yourself that you can't go beyond? And then pick those things apart. Pick one of them and say, you know what? No, I'm going to give myself permission to go beyond that and change that. I'm going to start this week. Or I'm going to start today. And I'm going to just envision myself doing that thing. Or I'm going to sign up for a yoga class. And I'm just going to go observe a yoga class. Just to get my feet wet. Just to see what they're doing in there. Or I'm going to hire a private yoga teacher to teach me something. So take action with this. But you got to recognize that it's there, and then you got to give yourself permission to try to move into it. And like I said, on Tuesday, 8/8, I'll be talking about others of us who are pushing against that ceiling and who have gone beyond it but fear it. And then we'll get to how to help it go away 2 weeks from Tuesday. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have an awesome day. I hope that your week is filled with allowing and goodness, and I will see you on Friday for our workout. We will keep focusing on this. Okay. Bye. Cheers. Bye.